When it's good, I'm launching it live on the YouTube, and we are live on YouTube too. Alrighty, good morning, good afternoon, and a good evening, depending on place and time you're viewing this. It's yours truly, Mr. Victory, and I am truly back to bring balance. Today I'm starting a little bit later than I usually do, and the reason being is I have been doing some work. Life first, then once in a while it has to start late. So it was either later than nothing at all. So I chose to start later um, today. The topic of today, it's about heroes, what we commonly know as freedom fighters, or freedom fighters rather, which we commonly know as heroes, or some people refer them to, that's my hero, our heroes. And we're gonna dive deeper into why some people view your freedom fighters as, how would you call it, terrorists, or not heroes, but rather something else, that they give them some kind of name, framing to degrade the role they play, or their pivotal role they played in freedom fighting and so on. Hello, Scott. How do you do? Good morning to you. You should join. This live is tailor-made for you, you know, per your request. And that's like, yeah, it's about time we spoke about it, given the fact, the situations that is going on in South Africa and so on, where the memories of heroes are tormented, or are destroyed because of the actions of many South Africans today. And it begs the question, why is it that even though South Africans do, how do I say, refrain or do not agree with the things that some South Africans are doing, why is it that the police are actually allowing citizens to do the things that they are doing to Ghanaians, Nigerians, and so on? So it speaks loud on heroes. And then the question is, why is it that there are no freedom fighters, or there are little freedom fighters that are actually speaking against this nonsense that is going on? So as we wait for a few people, let me share the live to a couple of people, the huge, those who do join the live, Miss Becky and the rest, uh, so then we can speak about the topics at hand and see if people do have hero stories to join and speak about. So, heroes are usually someone who you look up to, or someone that does something significant to you, that they become someone you put on a pedestal. And in many cases, you don't have to go far to find heroes. It could be your mother, it could be your father, it could be anybody. But time and time again, history is written by the victors, and it's one thing that is known. Then one asks themselves the question, why is it that some heroes are branded, or the role they played in, as one would say it, in freedom movement, are degraded? When we look at heroes that are in our textbook, like Nelson Mandela, people like Malcolm X, people like Nkrumah, people like Martin Luther King, and one must ask themselves, why is that these people are the only ones that are put into textbooks, whilst there are other freedom fighters that are actually more outspoken and more non-apologetic, is the word I'm looking for, when it comes to freedom fighting? Then one should, if you dive deeper, you'll find out the reason why they choose to teach these people is because these people, at the end of the, you will find out at the end of their hero arc, they tend to reconcile with their oppressors. They do not push to eliminate them once and for all, but they push to keep them around in some one way or form. We saw that with these teachings of Martin Luther King. We saw that with the teachings of Nelson Mandela, where he speaks of a rainbow nation, a nation that includes all, you know, and that is the reason why we learn or we deal about these kind of heroes because if you should ever be a hero, you should be like Nelson Mandela. You should be like Malcolm X. You should be like these people that are in and eventually do side with their oppressors in one way, shape, or the other. So those of you who wants to share some kind of heroes in your political struggle, feel free to do so. Um, Many liberation movements usually start in secret and in many cases as a cult. And we know that to be true because once the movement starts in the open, it tends to be one thing that becomes a movement that is bound to fail. That is why it is better for it to start in the outskirts of a nation, in hidden grounds, and in places where. Hello, Scott.
How's it going today?
Is I'm good. I'm good, and you?
Excellent. No, it's we were talking about this earlier. This topic of heroes and having heroes, and who the heroes are that are known heroes throughout time, and were they actually were the is does that same rule work with the terrorists? Uh, I know the from our history, we've had heroes, but they get killed pretty quickly because of their political power within their own people. So, I thought maybe it'd be a good question to bring about for other people and their individual heroes. Um, it's don't they say don't meet your heroes, and in a few occasions, that's for me that's been proven correct. Um, I met Ted Nugent once. I was pumped about his ability to play guitar. Turns out he's a racist dick. So I had to, you know, you get your world shattered like that by finding real truths within who you claim to
I
be your
met Ted
heroes, right?
Nugent
Once I was pumped about his
Who did you say he was again?
Ted Nugent. He's an American, was a rock musician. He had a couple songs like Cat Scratch Fever, Jailbait, which today is pretty ironic because he's a Trump fanatic. Um, but yeah, no, I admired when I was a youth. I admired his ability to play guitar, and then I met him later on in life, and he's a racist dick, very blatant about it, doesn't care, very arrogant. I had no compunction to get to know him further,
Mm, I see.
you know. But my heroes, I always preferred the scholars amongst us. So John Trudell, who was part of the American AIM movement in America back in the 70s. He passed recently within the last couple of years. But he was a poet, stood up for Indigenous rights, tried to help educate people about um, who we were or who we are versus what they think of us.
Mm,
Um, he was our own civil rights leader, much like Malcolm would be for the African American here, or the yeah, or Martin Luther King, or any of those people.
was he like a freedom fighter who, let's say, used an armed conflict or, as some will frame it, violence in
He
making his point?
didn't, however, the rest of the group did. They had a armed standoff with the FBI back in the 70s. This is where Leonard Peltier's story begins. I don't know if you've heard of Leonard Peltier, but he was one of our political prisoners who spent 30 some years in prison and was just released here by Joe Biden when he left office. was pardoned.
Okay, I'm not like familiar with him in that regard. You know, some of the American heroes are not spoken of, especially the ones that usually push some kind of violence. They usually prefer to speak of those who like, oh, turn the other cheek kind of heroes. That's the one you usually learn about in school,
Yeah.
and it's with,
Yeah.
intent. Yeah.
But that story, yeah, they stood up and fought with fired at FBI agents, but the FBI agents were there to enforce exploration efforts by oil and gas or mining. So it was on an Indian reservation, and they wanted to do exploratory work,
Well, one
uranium, maybe even. I can't remember what it was, but it was definitely all about resource extraction.
when one speak about, freedom fighting and such movements, the question is, can a movement that uses violence in any regard, can that movement avoid becoming addicted to violence or power? What do you think on that?
It definitely demonizes the user of violence,
Because the thing
or
is,
gives reason to demonize. I should say.
the thing is, when freedom fighters usually pick up arms, it is with good reason to why they pick up the arms. So you don't just wake up and like, oh, pick up arms, I'm gonna do whatever I want. But you pick up arms, it's either to defend, something or someone. That's the reason why you pick up arms or turn to violence to fix a problem. Because the problem that is facing you usually is violent in nature. So you need something of same nature in order to conquer or overcome that struggle.
Yes.
But the fact is that most colonized communities, we don't write our own history. We do not educate our own children. Therefore, our heroes keep getting demonized because we don't write our own history. You see, when the Nazi Germany took over the world, or or wanted to expand in regard, and they lost the war and so on. But you see that Germans are educating their children in ways that is beneficial to their nation, where they teach them,
Germans. Yeah.
yes, they are doing it. But if it was up to us, we would tell them Germans are bad people. You did this X, Y, and Z, and that's it. You should be ashamed of yourself. But the fact that Germans are educating their own children, you see, it gives them some kind of a standing ground and stability in order for that nation to grow.
Yeah, but that national sense of brainwashing has taken over the population at that point in time, right? So it's easier for them to tell them what the history is, or who the heroes are, without ever it's like they pampered the person's ego so much that, or Hitler did, that pumped them up full of national unity and national pride, that they forgot there's other people on the planet. You know,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
the same story over and over again.
It's like um, in Ghana, for example, we have a bunch of freedom fighters or heroes, but it is in many cases you hear about a selective few. We usually we learn about those who did something in the public face, but we don't hear about those in the background. Those who actually did the heavy lifting, and it's with great intent because there was this lady, especially the women, who in many regard was the one who actually put up money. So, for example, the first president of Ghana will even to afford to have a party to get educated and so on. But then when we speak of Nkrumah, for example, and the first president of Ghana and the first nation to be free, sub-Saharan African nation to be free, you find out that these people are usually hidden or not spoken about at all. And it's one thing that I wonder why it is a global phenomenon where people who actually played a real pivotal role in a nation's freedom fighting are usually in the backlogs of the books, even if they are in the books at all.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I can agree with that.
You know, and it's with something, and then it just came into my mind that why do post-colonial societies keep accepting, how their heroes are described, but we don't, how will I say, glorify them in our own way. Have you had an epiphany on that one?
Well, yeah, it's there's a whole anti-movement towards what's factual these days, and they call it anti-woke ideology. So, like, uh, not accepting the fact that gay people have existed in since the days of Alexander the Great, and it's their inability to um, identify that North America was once full of Indians. These things are taught to them.
Hmm.
They learn it, they repeat it, they regurgitate it. The it's it was always a tool, and it was always just designed to be delivered this way. Always.
That is true.
They the to the victor go the spoils of colonization, and it's worth fighting against. That's why these heroes exist. But you know, uh, it seems as though today that a lot of what they've fought and died for seem to be disappearing, and no one seems to care, or the people that do care are easily silenced.
you know, which is true, but there is one thing to that usually occur multiple times, and is the fact that in many cases when there is a freedom fighting movement, okay, be it Black Lives Matter and so on, you find out you find that those who usually are at the forefront of those movements usually turn on their own people. I think that is interesting. Have you even thought of it? Why that?
Well, I use Columbus as an example because most of the Western colonized world would look at Columbus and see the discoverer of North America or the Americas.
Yes.
And because of that was a savior to nations of those nations. And like the other ones too. I'm not trying to take away from Portugal's explorers or the rest of those explorers, but they weren't heroes. They were murderers. They were rapists. They were land colonizers. They brought violence and a sense of religious control to gain riches and lands. That was their whole goal. And yet today, history books will tell you they're heroes. So
Mm.
if we were to write our history, he would not be a hero.
But then why is that we don't write our own history then?
Well, we do to our own people because our people have we hand down history verbally.
Mhm.
It's a it always has been a verbal history. We didn't read, we didn't write things other than petroglyphs on rocks, stone or wooden totem poles would tell stories. Like these things were handed down traditionally, but a verbal history is pretty easy to erase when the goal is colonization and cultural genocide and any other type of erasure that they've implemented.
I understand that, but don't you think it's about time we had some kind of written history where we start writing things down, even though we don't have a culture of
Well, I
writing
think
or
we're
documenting?
starting to do that. Like we've over the last 20 years, I'll say, like we've rewritten our language. We've put our stories onto paper into digital databases. Um, Our petroglyphs have been documented and organized and carbon dated and all these other things. So we're definitely in the process of starting to do that, and technology makes that easier. Um, but is it too little, too late? I don't. That's the part that I don't know. We've had 100, 200 and some years of colonization, 300 more plus 1400, 1492. So that, it was probably earlier than that they started showing up. The
Hmm.
Vikings probably 100 years before that. That's a long time.
It
We
is a
got a
long.
lot of catching up to do.
It is a long time, and it's like for some reason, and I think the topic on heroes is one that is carefully crafted to even to who can become a hero. Once you have people like Ibrahim Traoré in Burkina Faso and other nations, and they are building momentum, you can see that they don't speak on certain topics like the other ones. They're not well outspoken, trying to arouse the people with words anymore. They are arousing people with actions, you know.
Yes.
And I'm wondering whether that is the reason of why he's still alive. Because is it the fact that his actions, even though they speak loud of who and what kind of man he is it more dangerous for him speaking his ideology to the people rather than showing them what his ideology is?
Well, that's the trick, though, right? Because they don't tell that story if he's defeated. If they're able to kill him or if they're able to do whatever, they don't tell his story. That's the whole point. Like Crazy Horse was a hero to the Sioux Nation
Hmm.
and only gave up because he was ordered to, and then they killed him.
Mm.
That's when your words pose so much of a danger. And it's the same with Martin Luther King. It's the same with Malcolm X. When their words carry so much weight with their own people, they kill them, and then they turn the narrative around and make him look like a bad guy. Oh, Martin. They say Malcolm X was a white man hater. Well, no, he wasn't. He didn't trust them. He didn't really give them any reason to, but he didn't hate them. He wasn't hate, but they turned him into a hate monger at the end of it. So when they do that, same with Sitting Bull. When they let Sitting Bull live a quiet old man life until he died at a rodeo, but the shame and the discrimination that he faced in his old age was just forever, and he kept on having to fight for his own people. The They called him a terrorist after he died. A known terrorist, Sitting Bull, finally dies at the age of however old he was. They control the narrative afterwards, and that's the problem. That's why I question whether Osama bin Laden was a bad guy. What was he fighting for? They never told us his story, what his reasons were, what they hid that all from us. Did you know that he was educated in the United States?
Yeah, I was aware of his involvement with the United States and how it went south quick.
Oh, you do? Okay. Well, I don't know exactly how it went south, but I know he fought with us against or with the United States against the Russians.
Yeah, he did, and that's the thing with America, who create heroes and put people on pedestals, then they denormalize those same people. It's
Yeah.
it's about time we understand that if America is pushing an agenda or pushing a hero, that this is a good guy, or former colonial masters are saying someone is a good person, you have to ask yourself, what is the agenda behind them? All of a sudden, having a unified voice, promoting somebody to be the call it the model of what black excellence is supposed to be, or what native excellence is supposed to be, or whatever, and
Yeah.
it speaks volume to how strategic they are, and how intentful they are with the things they push in the media and so on. But when we speak of heroes and heroes that do become tyrants, you know,
Yeah.
it's one thing that it's funny to me that many heroes that have been toppled, let's say what we know them as dictators, haven't toppled in the last 10 years, they usually start as freedom fighters, where the intention is good and they are in position or they take position with an intent of helping people out. The opposite usually happen, you know. And I don't know if you've thought of why those heroes usually never leave power.
Right. I have. Um, I have examples right now at the top of my head, like Donald Trump, Benjamin Netanyahu, Vladimir Putin. Um, I was hoping with this conversation and with hoping others would jump in and offer their who their heroes were. Um, I was hoping that this conversation might be able to help people identify what exactly evil is and why those people are, I don't know, left in these positions of power, or is it the power that corrupts them and they just want to stay because they're fearful of repercussions? I don't. That's the part I don't know, but there's definitely evil in the world, and I think we all need to identify it and destroy it.
Today's evil presents itself as victimhood.
Hello, Ari. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening
Hello,
to
guys.
you. Where are you streaming from?
New York.
New York. Okay. And your name is Ari or Ari?
Either way, whatever's easier for you to pronounce.
No, we pronounce what is correct. How you want to be referred
It's
to.
usually Ari.
Okay, then
Ari,
Ari it
okay.
is. Yeah. Welcome, welcome.
Thank you, guys.
So yeah, how do you want to contribute to the conversation?
The gentleman said that today's a lot of evil in the world. I agree, and it's even more than before because today's evil presents itself as victimhood.
Yep, I agree. That's true.
Today's colonizers present themselves as colonized.
Do you think there are more or less evil in this world today?
For the last 10, 15 years, more.
In what way?
For example, we know that Islamic world colonized as much as the white man, but it presents today itself as a victim. And on top of that, it has no shame to protest in the street as victims while they are the perpetrators of evil. That makes it worse.
How are they?
Presents itself as,
How are they evil? Is the question.
the evil part of it is they claim to speak up against colonization while themselves doing the colonization.
Yeah, but
That's
you
the
can't.
worst level of
Okay,
evil.
so this goes to what we were just talking about. You can't blame the oppressed for feeling oppressed. When
But I'm
people are
trying to
being
say-
oppressed, when people are being oppressed, their ability to protest with their voices, with their actions, is a justifiable thing.
What if they are the oppressors?
What if they aren't? I don't know what sides you're talking
Let's,
about.
for example, Free Palestine crowd. They are the Arab colonizers.
Okay,
presenting
no, they're not.
themselves as the
No,
colonized.
they are not. You are colonizing their lands by Israel.
No,
Yeah.
Palestine, Israel is indigenous Jewish land, and Arab and Islam came there as a colonizer.
History
they came as
here,
colonizers to Africa too.
history here proves you incorrect.
No,
Because when
history
you
proves
look at
me I'm
Israel,
correct.
when you look at Israel in 1948, what you were given, and you look at Israel today, who is colonizing who?
The 350 million Arabs trying to colonize 7 million Jews.
Wait. Let's draw it back now. Okay. So your point is that the Israelis or those who are currently occupying the land of Palestine are
Correct.
what?
No, liberated their land from Arab colonizers. Middle
No,
East
No,
was
you're a
once home.
colonizer defending colonization.
No, the Middle
That's
East
what
was
you
once
are.
home to hundreds of ethnicities and religions, but Islam slaughtered them all.
let
It's
let
all
us let
Arab
us
Islam
let
now.
us let us dive deeper too, because I find this to be interesting, not in a negative way, but because two things can be true at the same time, and that's what I'm leaning towards. One thing that is true is that yes, the Levantine, or what we know as modern day Palestine, is not predominantly Arabic or Arab centric, if one may say it that way. But then gradually it became more Arabized. The
As a result of,
Arab people took over as a result of the spreading of Islam and Arabic culture. And we have the same thing to be other places in the world, for it to be so. But then after the Second World War, where the Palestine was under British colonial rule, and it was gifted to whom? The Israelis, who were, as they put it, was maltreated by the Germans. So
Palestine is a product of British colonization.
yeah, but it's not only Palestine. There are other nations that are also a product of British colonization.
Right. One colonizer took it from the other colonizer.
So who is the other colonizer then?
The Arab colonizers lost the land to the European colonizers.
Hmm. And now the European colonizer lost the land to whom?
No, and then the
No,
indigenous Jews and then the indigenous Jews liberated it.
he is completely ignoring the Nakba and what happened.
Nakba was a catastrophe for Arabs for failing to defeat Jews
Yeah,
in a
okay,
war.
we're done with this guy. He's a Zionist and a fucking idiot.
You see, there you go again, a Zionist.
No, just
If I'm
bear
a
with me.
Zionist, you're white trash.
Okay, hold on with me. Don't call names. I want to dive deeper into something. Prior to the settlement of Jews, the mass migration, there was a land that was spoken of, and it was in Africa. I think it was in Uganda. Why do you think?
That's not Jewish land.
No, but hold on. Why do you think that the Jewish promised land or settlement of Jews, a land for the Jews, they spoke of a land in Africa to begin with, or it was considered to use that one as a, how will I say it, as a land for Jews in Uganda?
Because European colonizers wanted to just get rid of the problem to whatever other land they colonized. But Jews said, no, we don't want other people's land. We're liberating our own land, which was
No,
colonized
that was not
from us.
that was not the case. The case was the
That was
Jews
the case.
themselves. Wait, hold on. When we speak of the, I remember we had this as a live 3 weeks ago, and when we speak of the Jews trying to find their homeland, the reason why the nation of Uganda, and I hope this, I think if I remember correctly, was taken off the table was it was hard for Jews to relate to that land. That they didn't have no historical ties to that. That's why that land was off the table. But if they did have some kind of historical ties to that land, they would have migrated to that land instead because it was easier to take over that land than Palestine. But the reason why Palestine was chosen was because it is a land that was easier for the Jews to what? Relate to. You see the
Right,
difference?
because it's their indigenous land.
So can you prove that it is the indigenous lands?
Yeah, the names. I'll give you one example. The River Jordan.
Hmm.
Why is it called Jordan?
You tell me.
Because that geographic name comes directly from the Bible, Yarden.
Hmm.
It doesn't come from Quran or Arab culture.
Hmm.
Arabs are foreign to that land.
Okay. So one is language, okay? What other claims that ties modern day Israelis to the land that they occupy now, or the
Historic
promised
and
land?
religious.
Yes. So that's it.
What else do you need?
No, but I'm asking you.
Yeah,
Because
that's more you can ask for. That's
okay,
the
It's
best
not
proof.
historic and religious.
so
It's
so
religious and mythological.
It's historic and religious. The reason why you are American is because you come from America. The reason why you're Ugandan or French because you come from France or Uganda. The reason why you're a Jew because you come from Judea.
Mm-hmm.
which is today the leftists and the Islamic colonizers call West Bank.
Are there any biblical quotes or biblical references that claim that Jews,
The Talmud.
yes, have a claim to that land?
Yes, you can go to Rome and look at the Ark of Titus
No,
and see the Romans expelling the Jews. If you want archaeological evidence,
no, no.
that's first.
I'm not asking for
And every time
archaeological
you
evidence. I'm
dig
asking for
into the
biblical.
ground, you don't find Arabic, you find Hebrew.
Listen, I'm asking for biblical references, not Roman references.
Oh yeah, absolutely, the entire Bible.
Okay, and because I want this to
Version.
reference some places because I'm gonna pull up Bible Gate.
But I'm not even using Bible or religion as my claim. I'm using historical.
Listen,
I can
because
use the religious one too,
History
but
based on religion is not history. It is mythology.
when you claim that it is based on wait, what is TikTok doing? Am I getting?
brother,
Hold on.
Islam claims Jerusalem is Islamic because Muhammad flew there in a dream. He doesn't get more religious fanaticism and claim as a religious claim than that.
But both Christians, Jews, and Muslims claim they have religious and historical ties to those lands.
Right, but for Christians and Muslims it's religious, for Jews it's historical.
So listen. Before Judaism should be what it is, right? Did everyone in that area practice Judaism?
Yes, Jacob had 12 sons. Who did his sons marry? They married Canaanite women.
Mhm. Because when we talk about historical ties to land, and it's one thing that is very, very interesting, and that's what we usually talk about this on this live colonization and so on. You know, uh, who the fuck is calling me? Sorry, I can't pick up my call now. There are how will I say it, ways to want to have historical ties to a land. Either it is through birth, that means you were born into that land and that's all you've known, and therefore you think or you come from that place. Two is what one people claim they were ordained, it's what is annexed, they are taken, or as people say, it's God's gift to mankind. So when you ask Jews, why is it that they are annexing lands from the Palestinians or the Arabs, as you put it? In many cases, it is claimed that they say it is what's God's gift to them, their promised land. Okay, do you claim that to be true?
I claim both to be true, but not all people believe in God, so I don't always use the religious argument. I use the historic argument.
Okay, so you don't think the religious argument is off the table.
When I debate with Muslims, I use the religious argument. When I debate with Westerners, I use the historic argument.
So what do you think we are?
Well, I think you do have a religious component to your ideas because you used it as an example. The gentleman, the other guest, he doesn't sound like that. So for him, I would use a historic argument.
Okay, because the reason why I usually I don't believe in the gods, but I just use any argument to prove a point if it is necessary in the argument that I'm making. So, for example, if the historical lands, there are some tribes in some parts of Africa that claim that they have roots to modern day Israel. Oh,
Yes,
yes. Are these tribes false if one day they should come back and say we are moving back to our promised lands or our native
to be
lands?
honest, I have no idea because I don't know much about them.
Okay, in Afghanistan, there are some people who descended from from Jews or Judah, the tribe of Judah, the 12 tribes of Judah. Places like Khan Yunis, the Khans, in Afghanistan.
Pashtuns, yeah, a
The
lot of them claim to be
Pashtuns,
descendants
yes,
of Bani Israel, yeah.
yes, Ben Israel. So if a time should come and they say we are migrating back to our native lands, what's the consequences?
Ooh, fucking good question.
No, I mean, if they're Jews, I wouldn't be against it.
What do you mean if they are Jews?
If they are Jews,
See, it's when you, this is what happens when a Jewish supremacist Zionist thinks that they're above other people.
I
a
know that to
white
be
a
true.
white
Comprehend.
trash
They
supremacist
cannot
is in no position
comprehend
to tell
the
me
idea
what
of
to think.
equal rights for people.
Equal rights. There were 1 million Jews living in Arab lands before Arabs and Islam. They all were ethnically cleansed, and they all left
There
to
were
Israel.
100
I
million.
know that. I know that
What
to
are you
be
gonna
true.
say about that?
No, wait.
There were
Before we
100 million.
deviate, before we deviate from that one, I want you to answer the question: is if people who have historical and religious ties to the land decide that they want to move back to those lands, what then?
In that case, they would. In the case of Pashtuns, if they give up Islam
What
and
do you
they
mean?
return to Judaism,
Why do they
they're
have to
welcome
give
to
up?
return.
Why do they have to give up Islam?
Exactly.
Because Islam is an ideology which does not tolerate equality to non-Muslims, and it
Okay,
will become
Right.
not a Jewish state, but
Exactly.
I'm talking. I'm talking. Be quiet.
so
So
so so
when
but that
Islam
is
comes, Islam does not tolerate equality.
Judaism
It
an
dominates.
ideology that is tolerant to others or that speaks
Yes,
of equality? So if it is an ideology that speaks of equality to others, why are they killing people today?
they're not killing people today. They're fighting a war. They're defending themselves against
Listen,
Islamic colonizers.
you don't
Awesome. Hey,
defend. Isn't that also killing? Listen, you know,
Now, fight. So you want us to surrender and die in the name of tolerance?
no,
perfect.
hold on.
Okay, so can I just say one thing?
Yes, sure.
I'm a Anishinaabe from North America, okay? So like this is my indigenous land. I have always been here. My people have been here for 13,000, 20,000 years. Is it okay for me to go around killing my neighbor because he's Jewish and
Well,
from
is
a
it
different
okay?
land?
Because your Islam says you have to dominate the Jews. Is it okay for you as a Muslim to go and
I am not Christian. I am not Islamic. I am Indian, as in American Indian.
and
Is it okay for me in Canada to go over next door to my Jewish neighbor and kill him and his children?
no,
Because he's here in my
it's
lands
not okay for you,
and
and
he
it's
is
not
not
okay
equal
for
to
Arabs.
the rights that I have on my lands.
It's not okay for you to do that, and it's not okay for Arabs to do that.
Exactly.
And it's not
Exactly.
okay for Arabs to do that.
Oh, it's okay for you to do it.
We don't do that. If we would, the
Bullshit.
entire Arab world would be already burning in fire.
The Arab world is burning on fire.
Exactly, because they're fighting themselves. They can't
No,
figure out what they are themselves.
no, no.
Since the fall of the Caliphate, the Ottoman Empire, Arabs and Muslims have been in internal civil war.
You know,
Well, since the days of David and Goliath.
one
Right, but
thing
guess
that
what? Goliath wasn't an Arab or a Muslim.
He
one
was
thing
the Ottoman, wasn't he?
No, are you serious? Ottomans didn't exist during the time of Goliath. That's over 2,500 years ago. He was a Pelishti. A Pelishti is called an invader in Hebrew. He came from the Greek island of Crete.
one thing that I think is funny, Ari. It's how particular um, people who are educated to support the Israeli movement or the Israeli, call it Zionist or political movement ideology speak and think. It's with particular that you say, "Oh, we are just defending ourselves." For example, if I should move into Scott's home, right, in or his land, then all of a sudden I put myself in a situation where it is more likely for me to be harmed. Then how can I then claim that I am defending myself when I put myself in that situation? I- I- you know, um, One thing that is evident is that the lands that are being taken over didn't belong to the people who are taking over. We can see that even with the colonizers themselves. Colonizers documented everything, you know, and they are very good at documenting the things that they did colonize and owned. Prior and Palestine is one of the lands that was It's heavily
There was
documented.
never an Arab Palestine, brother. Your
Listen,
notion from the
listen.
beginning is wrong.
How
Arabs
how long ago?
Arabs came to
How long
Palestine.
ago did the name Israel came on the map, on the world map?
Hold on.
Just let's hold on. Let's hold on for him because
You see, brother, that's the
It-
notion of the
Israel kills Christian Palestinians and Islamic
Prove it.
Palestinians all the
Prove
same.
it. Prove it. There's
Okay.
no shit. You have a problem with history. White man,
wait,
you don't know what you're talking about in general.
No, pull up the UN's report. Pull up the U.
before we move on, I wanted
The
to ask
city
a
of
question.
Bethlehem, the city of Bethlehem in West Bank was
Eric.
90% Christian. Now it's 90% Muslims, and Jews have nothing to do with that.
Eri, listen. I was asking you a question. How long ago did the name Israel appear on the world map?
3,500 years ago.
On the world map?
Yes.
Okay, so then let's fact check that one.
Because you have to understand that the Arabs who call
Let
themselves
us-
Palestinian,
Let us
they
fact
came to
check
the
that
land
one.
with the British mandate of Palestine. When British and Jews started giving jobs, Arabs started coming from other countries, from other lands there. And guess what? Before World War II, before World War I, there never was Israel, there was no Syria, there was no Iraq, there was no Jordan, there was no Saudi Arabia, there was not a single country in the Middle East. So why is only the Jewish state questioned and not
Okay.
all other Arab countries?
hold on.
Because
none
of your
them
idea
existed.
of supremacy and having the ability for anyone else to have to fucking tolerate that.
Okay, let us
Maybe you should look at the map, you fucking white trash.
Okay, let us dive into that one, okay? And then if you could mute yourself.
So
I'm
maybe
gonna
this
ask-
white confused idiot
hold on.
should justify why Arab countries
Well,
have the right
if you
to
weren't
exist,
so
but a Jewish
ignorant, you would
doesn't.
know my color is red.
No, your color is idiot.
Also, hold on for me, Eri, and then try to refrain from using.
Oh, that's all he deserves because
No,
I cannot
listen,
imagine
listen,
how can
listen.
you debate fantasy.
Listen,
It's funny when you show intolerant people what intolerance looks like, and they get
It's
upset.
fun. Yes,
they play
it's
victim.
funny how
They play
350 million
victim just like
Arabs,
you're doing right now.
yes,
victim.
350 million Arabs occupying 99% of the Middle East are somehow victims to 7 million Jews who only occupy 0.1% of the Middle East.
hold on.
If
The only
that's to
thing the
you, the
Talmud has done
colonizers,
is create
then
an
your
entire
head is
religion of
twisted.
sociopaths, incapable of
talking about
empathy
Islam?
and only giving other people
Are you
apathy.
talking about Islam?
You.
Are you talking about Islam or are you talking about Catholic Church?
Okay, hold on for me, Eri. Okay, I'm gonna mute you for a second because I need to do something.
Yeah. Okay, we can talk about the Catholic Church. It's
Yeah,
another
Catholic
religion
Church
full of hypocrites.
colonized, Islam
full of
colonized.
hypocrites. Full
Yeah,
of
but somehow
hypocrites.
it's the Jews who are religious supremacists, not the Catholics and not
Well,
the Muslims.
Does your Bible tell you that you're better than everybody else?
No,
Yeah.
no, show it to me.
Yeah.
Show it to me.
The Talmud does, right? It
Show it to me
justifies
where it says
everything
that.
else you guys do.
So now you're switching from Bible to Talmud. Show it to me where it says that. I could tell you where in the Quran it says that where Allah tells Muhammad, you Muslims are the best of people, and the Christians and the polytheists and the Jews are the worst of creatures.
Where that
And you have to
Religion's
subdue them.
written in war.
It says that in the Quran, but somehow you have the problem with the Jews, not with the Quran. So you either brainwashed.
Oh, I've
or
read
Jew-hated.
both. I've read both.
Yes.
Yeah, I don't agree with any religion telling their people that they're better than everybody else. I don't
Why
agree
don't
with
you
it.
go
That's
and
why I'm
say
not
that?
religious.
So why don't you go to Muslims and tell them stop fighting the Jews, stop being Islamic supremacists? Because they have the history of colonization, not as
They've-
Jews.
They've been nothing but kind to me.
Oh, so because they're kind to you, which means I have to drop dead.
No, I see your kindness on TV every day for the last 4 years.
Yes.
Yep.
How many Jews did you see run
Shooting
into a
babies in the
supermarket or a
head.
bus? How many Jews have you seen run into a bus or a supermarket screaming God is great and blow themselves up?
Yeah, how else do they fight a
How
superpower?
many Jews, how many rabbis have you seen
How would
screaming,
you fight a
we're gonna
superpower?
conquer the world?
Let me tell you how we fought a superpower. We gathered
Who
all
we?
our armies.
Who we?
We gathered all our armies. We fought the 7th Cavalry. We won. And what did they do?
Who
They
we?
killed us. They killed us at Wounded Creek. Wounded
Who
Knee.
we? Who we?
Yeah. Our women and children, not our men.
Yeah, that's what
How do
Muslims
you
did,
fight a
right?
superpower?
That's what Muslims did, right?
You protest. That's what you do.
Protest.
Yeah. Your original
Confused.
victimhood argument?
I'm not gonna protest, stand with a flag and scream tolerance with Islamic hordes who are coming to rape
How
and pillage me.
apparently they're doing that to Jewish people, and the Jewish snipers are shooting babies in the head.
Yeah, prove it. Prove it. You
It's been
confuse the Jew
proven.
with Muhammad, with Ahmed.
Guys, let us bring it
All
back
I
a
see
little
is
bit.
Muslims pillaging their way through the Middle East.
Bear with me, Ari, for a
I
moment.
can't do this Zionist mother.
Okay, hold on. I just
Yeah,
want to.
because you're white trash.
Hold on. I just want to ask a question. So I was asking the question, right? Which was, how long ago did the nation of Israel appear on the world map? And you said what, three something thousand years ago?
Yes.
And I want to fact check that one. Okay. So bear with me, and if you can mute yourself for a moment.
And then after that, show me a Palestine Arab
How
when they
long
exist.
ago did the nation of Israel appeared on the world map?
There was Kingdom of Judah,
The modern
Kingdom of
state of
Israel.
Israel was established in 1948, following the end of the British Mandate in Palestine and the United Nations Partition Plan. However, the historical roots of the land of Israel, or ancient Israel, go much further back. It's often tied to biblical times, with kingdoms like Israel and Judah emerging around 1000 BCE. So in short, ancient Israel is thousands of years old, but the modern state as we know it today is just over 70 years old.
Yeah, it took us a long time to liberate our land from
It's
colonizers.
not about that. Do you answer the hear what he
So the
said?
guy just proved what I said.
No. What I'm saying is that you understand what he just said. That when I
Yeah, I
asked
said
you,
the same thing.
you never said the same thing. When I asked you,
Yeah.
how long ago did the nation of Israel appear on the world map? You said thousands of years ago.
Yes.
But it is false.
No.
Listen,
We were colonized and oppressed.
it's not
First
about
first by white trash like working guy,
listen,
whatever his name is,
listen,
and then by Arabs, and we liberated our land.
listen. The world map that we know is a fairly new concept. Okay, and it is one that is not necessarily um, created by, let's say, Africans or Israelis. It was created by, white people. So, if Israelis lived on that land during times of colonization, it would have been called Israel on the world map, or as Europeans divided upon
Not
themselves.
if you oppressed, not if you colonized.
Listen,
Jews always lived there.
listen, hold on. The whole world was colonized by Europeans,
And by Muslims.
and some parts of the world was colonized by Muslims, but the majority, the whole world, were colonized. The Britain, there's no nation on this earth that haven't had combat with Britain, or Britain having defeated in one way, shape, or other.
True.
Yes, exactly. So they made the rules. So when you claim, oh shit, the thing is open. Sorry. When you claim that it appeared on the world map, it's about time you are honest. At least you say, "Oh, we appeared on the world map during after the Second World War, but we have had historical ties prior to our appearance on the world map." Do you see the difference between how I'm answering the question?
Only in numbers wise, but it doesn't change the subject at all.
It doesn't change the subject, but it changes the narrative.
No, it doesn't. Only for this working guest that you have,
No,
because he's gonna try to use it to his bullshit because he needs some history lesson.
no. It's not about. I don't know how long you've been listening to these lives, but you have to understand. We spoke about Israel and the Jewish agenda, you know. And you know what the Jewish agenda is?
Yes, to liberate ourselves and just
It
leave
is
us alone.
global dominance.
Jews, global. There's 50 million Jews in the world. What global dominance are you talking about?
Let me tell you
Judaism
why.
does not call for global dominance. Islam calls for global dominance,
Listen,
and leftist Marxists
listen.
like this guest
Maybe
call for
You
world
both
dominance.
want global dominance. You both want it really bad, and you're willing to burn the whole fucking
I
world to
don't
get it.
need your global dominance.
Yeah, no, you do. That's why you're taking
I
Somaliland.
don't
That's why
need.
you're digging into Gaza. That's why you're taking the West Bank and have taken the
Have
West
you
Bank.
looked at the map?
No,
Gaza and the West
you're
Bank
on the
are
side of
indigenous
the
Jewish land.
colonizer. You are on the side of the colonizer. You are colonizing people. You are performing genocide right now to do so, and history will write you into those books as the oppressor here. It won't.
Now,
You're not
history
the
will
good
Mind
guy.
your
write
words,
you
guys. We are
into
on
the
TikTok
book
and
as a
YouTube, so
useful
there are some
idiot.
words we can't use. So just so that you know.
History will include you as a useful idiot like Stalin and Hitler had. Useful idiots who did their bidding. The same thing goes for the white guy. History will not will remember
which
this.
country are you residing in at the moment, Eric?
I live in America
You live in America. Why do you live in America?
because I'm a product of Islamic ethnic cleansing. I was born in a Muslim country, and they ethnically cleansed us for being Jews.
Okay, so you moved into America, or your parents moved to America?
Yes, my parents.
Okay. How do you contribute to the American society?
I work. I've never been on welfare. I work. I'm actually at work right now, and I pay taxes.
Okay, that's good. Recently, there have been a topic that has been circulating on the internet or amongst American and people who hold political powers. And the question is, and I'm not an American, I'm African, I'm Ghanaian. And then the question is, America first or Israel first? Do you
I have
think,
only American passport. I've never lived in Israel.
hold
I've
on,
never had an Israeli
hold on,
passport.
hold on. Do you think it is right or wrong for an American to say America first rather than Israel first?
Absolutely right.
Okay, at least you're honest for one time, because I think.
But for example, did you know that Mamdani has Ugandan citizenship?
Mhm.
And he's a mayor of New York. But all these hypocrites, like this white trash and Muslim hypocrites, they say every single congressman in America has Israeli citizenship, which is false, while their own people, their own leaders, are dual citizens.
Yeah, I do understand, but I think the creation. Okay, do you think the creation of the state of Israel, right, as a solo state instead of a dual state is a mistake?
What do you mean by dual state?
The idea was it to be both Palestinian and an Israeli state, that it could share the land, right? Do you think
Sure,
it's
why not? That, yes, but then Arabs started the war and they
no,
lost
no,
the
no.
land.
Hold
And
on,
I
hold
said,
on,
no,
hold
what's
on.
the problem?
Just wait on. Focus on the question, okay? Just the question. Do you think the concept of it being a shared state is false?
Yes,
Okay, if you could elaborate why it's false for it to be a shared state.
because Islamic culture, Islamic religion cannot coexist as an equal or shared with anybody else or
Okay,
anything else.
okay, good, good. Okay, that is great. Do you think Jewish religion and Jewish culture allows Jewish to coexist with others?
Yes, but only halfway.
Okay, because the
The
old.
only difference
I
is,
have a question, and I want you to clarify if and pardon my ignorance. Is the Old Testament a replica or a called deviance, if I might say it, of the Jewish book?
what do you mean?
Like, is what is in the Old Testament, is it similar to what the Jewish have in their Bible or the Talmud?
Well, the Torah is the Jewish book.
Okay, the Torah on the Old Testament, right? Are they similar?
It's the same book, it's just different names.
Okay, correct. Good. That's what I wanted to clarify. Have you read the Torah or the Bible or the Old Testament?
Well, not the Christian version has a lot of mistranslations, but the original, yes, of course.
Okay. When we speak of how the God in the book wants Jews to treat other people, other nations. Hold on, let me verify the live. There you go. I had to verify the live. Do you think it is correct that for example, the Bible allows slavery?
Uh, I don't really believe that Bible allowed slavery as is understood today.
But how do you believe it to be?
I believe that's how the world was in those days, and that was one of those things
The world was
where
never
the
that way.
Christian translation mistranslated. It doesn't say a slave; it says Oved. Oved means a worker.
No, I think it says for Jews they should
But
have.
it did have slavery in those days, but there is no such Jewish law to have slaves.
You know, if you claim that the Old Testament is the same as the Torah or the Talmud or whatever you call it, but just different names, and it states in the book of Leviticus and other books that your slaves are to come from nations around you. And that's the God speaking to the Jews. But a Jew, for example, can't be slaved or can't be only an indentured servitude. Do you know the difference between an indentured servant
Yes,
and
according to Jewish law, 7 years, you have to release all your workers, or as you call slaves, 7 years.
yes,
According to Jewish law, yes. If you cannot pay your debts, you become a slave to the person who you own money to. But it says the word oved, worker, slave,
indentured
whatever.
servitude? What about
But
those who are
every 7
non-Jews?
years, all of that has to be released. All the
Yes,
debts and all the slavery goes away, and the person gets his land back.
yes, which is called the year of what? Jubilee.
Jubilee, yes.
Yes.
It goes 7 years, and then 777, and then 70.
Okay, good. What about a non-Jew? What are the
What about an
laws?
angel?
What are the laws
Same
on
thing. It says, the Torah literally says, you were a stranger in
can
Egypt.
you pull a verse that I can find?
It says, do not oppress a ger.
Where?
I think it's in Leviticus. But
Okay.
I know where you're going with this argument. No, Arabs do not apply under this.
No. Let's
Because
continue. Let's
Arabs,
continue on that track.
because
Leviticus what?
there is also Jewish laws that says that a non-Jew cannot rule over you in the land of Israel.
Wait. Hold on. Let's move to that on that trajectory. Let's find. I'm gonna put on the Bible.
If Arabs want to live with the Jews in Israel, they're welcome to live with the Jews in Israel, but under one condition. Israel will not become an Arab or Islamic state. They will live in a Jewish state under Jewish rule. If they don't accept Jewish rule, they're welcome to go back to any Arabian country they came from. If they want to live with the Jews, they will have all the rights. They will not. The only difference is they will not be a prime minister.
What you're saying sounds like?
Because not a single Jew or non-Muslim will
can I
ever
thank
be
him?
in charge.
Thank you. It's
Will a
apartheid.
non-American,
Thank you for defining it.
yeah, apartheid America. If you're not born in America, you cannot be a president. Is that an apartheid?
That's the
If
one
you're
I'm
not an
talking
Arab
about.
or a
That's
Muslim,
law in America.
so that's a law too, for the same logical
Is
reason.
it going to be okay when we start
Is a
sending all of the
non-Muslim or
Israeli
non-Arab,
dual citizens back to Israel?
is a non-Muslim or non-Arab is allowed to be a prime
Can we do
minister
that?
or king of any Arab or Muslim country?
That's not what we
Is
we
a
said.
just send-
non-Ghanan will
can
ever
we-
be
can we
allowed to be a
deport-
president of Ghana?
Would it be okay if we deport all of these Israeli citizens in North America back to Israel? Because
but along
their
with
idea.
that, with that, deport all the
Perfect.
Pakis.
Let's
with
get
dual
your bags
citizenship.
packed.
Deport all
And
the
let's get you
Latinos
moving towards that
with
process.
dual citizenship.
Hey, let him
Let's
speak, please.
deport you back to Europe too,
Yeah, no,
Let's
I come from
deport all the
Drummond Island
Pakis
in Michigan. So
with dual citizenship.
Ari, you know that he is native to, or his forefathers are native to the lands that he reside in?
Who said he's a native?
Do you know what that means?
Who said he's a native? Just because he said so?
well, the government of Canada identified me as a native. So does that justify what you are thinking?
You can easily lie about it. I don't know who you are. I don't know anything about you. You could just be making a claim on
Shaganash.
TikTok.
I
You
Can I
see?
read?
When-
Can I
when
read
the-
something here?
when
Can I
the
read
same
something?
logic
Okay,
applies
just
to
let him
you.
read.
The
You're
Old
like-
Testament does not advocate for Jewish supremacy. The belief that Jews are inherently superior to other nations, instead, it features the theological concept of chosenness. This concept centers on
concept was
the ancient
developed-
Israelites
Christian
being
concept.
selected for unique moral responsibilities and obligations rather than special privileges or inherent superiority.
Do you hear what he's saying, Ari? Because I think it's funny for a person who don't live in Israel, but for some reason have much to say about your ties to the land where you don't even come from there. Do you understand what I mean, Ari? You don't come from Palestine or Israel or the Middle East. You were born in America.
I wasn't born in America.
Where were you born then?
I was born in Dagestan.
In
Dagestan.
Dagestan?
That's it, yes, and we were ethnically cleansed by Muslims from there. And guess what? My ancestors lived in Dagestan before Islam. But then Islam came and ethnically cleansed us.
Ethnically cleansed you?
Of course, we were ethnically cleansed. When
Listen,
the Soviet Union collapsed, Dagestan and the Caucasus are predominantly Islamic, and they ethnically cleansed us. When Soviet Union collapsed, there was no rule, and we got ethnically cleansed by Muslims.
wasn't the fact that Jews tried to kill the leader of Russia back then?
No,
Yep.
no, it was the Russians who killed the Tsar because he oppressed his own people.
Are you sure about that? Because history says
100%.
otherwise.
And
Oh,
Caucasus
let's.
was not Russian. My grandma used to say all the time, we didn't go to Russia. Russia came to us.
Listen. So the thing is, okay, there is a phenomenon
My
that
family
says,
speaks Persian at home
okay, why so? I know that Jews in
because it was part
Persia.
of Persian Empire.
Yes, I know that there are
Exactly.
Jews there, and there are people
Yeah,
who subscribe to Judeans in Persia, but I don't hear them bitching and moaning.
exactly. The only time I'm bitching and moaning, like I told you in the beginning, when Arab colonizers are presented as victims.
Okay, fine. Let's say your claim is true that Arabs did colonize and annexed Jews, and Jews ran away. Okay, and now Jews are fighting to get their land back. Okay, do you think Jews now have gone too far?
No, I didn't. I think they haven't gone far enough. This
So,
should
so,
have
so,
been
so,
done in 1948.
what will you classify as far enough or too far?
Far enough, expel them.
No, no. So, wait. Is that too far, or that's where it's supposed to be?
No, there was a million Jews
No,
living
no.
in
Hold
Arab
on, hold on, hold
lands.
on, no,
They
no,
were
hold on,
all
hold on, Ari.
ethnically cleansed.
Hold on, Ari. The question I'm asking is, what is too far? Okay, to how what is the limit is. So is doing away with everybody too far, or right up at that point where that's good?
No, I
Because
only think Israel did one mistake. They were tolerant with those who do not understand tolerance. Arabs take tolerance as a weakness.
so,
Could
so,
I
so
could I intervene here?
You see,
yeah, thank you.
Europeans are being tolerant towards Arabs, and Arabs are abusing that right in Europe.
There's something called the tolerance paradox, where when one individual, his level of intolerance supersedes hypocrisy, supersedes cognitive dissonance. He is right regardless of what you show him, and when that inability for his ability to hate on other people, different religions, different skin colors, different sexes, when he is allowed to continue, my intolerance to that becomes superior. I don't have to tolerate your hate. I don't have to
I don't
tolerate
have
your
hate.
ignorance, your
Everything you
apathy.
described is literally Muslims.
You know one thing. Let me tell you something. When I
This
was
guy's a
young,
hypocrite.
no, no. Let me tell you
You're a
something,
hypocrite.
Ari. How old are you?
I'm 43.
43. Okay, you're old enough. You're older than me. So okay, that's good. That's perfect. It's perfect for the analogy I want to make. I remember when I was going back to school. The topic of Second World War was one that came, into the curriculum, and we had to learn about it. And with it, the Jewish struggle, where it was we were taught that the Holocaust was one of the worst things that can ever happen in the history of humanity, or ever happen in the history of humanity, where Jews were put in gas chambers and and killed. But then it was spoken about 5 million Jews. Okay, prior to that, in the Americas, we had natives that lived there that were, annexed or exterminated. In Africa, we have over 12 million people who survived the journey to Americas. Will you say that is equivalent, or the struggle of the Jews is too much?
The numbers are irrelevant. I
No, no,
have
no,
to
no,
stay
wait.
consistent.
Hold on, no, no,
Yes,
no, no, no.
it's equivalent.
The numbers are irrelevant?
The numbers are not
Okay,
irrelevant. The
okay,
struggle is the same.
Can
okay,
can I ask one
okay. Let me,
question?
let me, let
Just
me tell
one
you one
one.
thing.
Yes, they're the same
So
struggle as the
if
Jews.
if the
Absolutely.
if the numbers are irrelevant, okay, then I can say that I don't give a flying fuck about 5 million Jews
No,
that
you,
was
you
killed.
missed half of my answer. It doesn't matter 1 million or 5. Both deserve recognition. Native
Can
Americans deserve recognition too for their struggle. Absolutely.
Oh, you've been calling me a white man this whole time.
I don't believe you're a native, but I'm talking about you. Talking
Can
about
I
the Native
ask him just one
Americans.
question?
Sure,
Just
sure,
one
sure,
question.
sure. Do ask.
In, say, 1942, in the midst of all of the Jewish internment camps, do you think the people within those camps, those Jewish people who were praying to God, do you think they were praying for tolerance?
No,
No?
no.
Interesting. Yeah.
They were praying for survival. Tolerance didn't exist to them because there wasn't the
Oh, well,
tolerance.
this is
You
okay. So
see,
then this would be
tolerance.
post tolerance. At what
No,
point do you think they were
tolerance.
praying for tolerance?
Tolerance is a virtue of
When they
rich
were being
born
rounded up?
people.
When they were
Tolerance is
being,
no
were
tolerance
they
is
praying
a
for tolerance when they
virtue.
were being rounded up?
No, tolerance is a virtue of a rich, spoiled white man who is bored with his life.
And
I
I'm
think I
allowed to
think
be intolerant of racism, bigotry, hypocrisy. I can be intolerant towards all of that. And if Jewish supremacy is gonna, I'm gonna be fucking intolerant to that too.
y- you
I
know
have no
um
idea what Jewish supremacist means.
No,
let me
your ideology.
My ideology to live free is not a supremacy.
listen.
My
Are they not allowed to
ideology,
live free?
not my ideology, not to be a
Are they not
slave of
allowed
an
to live
Arab
free?
Muslim. My ideology of not being a slave to Arab Muslims is not intolerance.
I'm not
It's
a slave to
tolerance.
colonizer.
Because I think it's
You're a
very
colonizer.
particular.
Russia is colonizing Ukraine.
I'm not Russian.
Israel is colonizing.
I'm
Israel is
not Russian.
colonizing Palestine. They're
Is
colonizing Somaliland.
Palestine
They are
is
colonizing.
Arabs colonizing Jews.
No, it's not a
Yes.
religious thing. It's a land
But
thing. You're using religion to
hold on.
justify it.
Let
It's
me
not a
bring it back. Let me
religious
bring it back. Let me bring
or
it back.
land back. It's a family feud.
Let me
It's
bring it
not
back.
land issue or religion issue. Arab Jewish conflict is a
Ari,
family feud.
Ari, listen. Prior to the mass immigration of Jews to what you claim to be the promised land, were Jews that currently live there, were they at, were they in any form of danger?
Where yes.
What
Well,
kind of
that's
danger?
a wrong premise of the question.
No, no. What do you
Where
mean is
did
the
they
wrong
come from?
premise of the question? Listen,
Here's the reason.
were
When the
there
World War
were
II
there
ended,
were there Jews that lived in Palestine prior to Jewish people moving there, or after Second World War?
there was always a
They've
Jewish
always been
presence.
Jew. Were those
Always
Jews
Jews
in
lived in
danger?
Israel.
Were those
Always.
Jews in danger?
Yes, periodically.
Periodically, in what way?
In what way? Everybody who came to conquer the land, go through the land to conquer further, oppressed and pushed them out, or tried to. Different empires came and gone through that
Listen.
piece
We
of
are not talking
land.
about empires. We are talking. I asked if they were in danger.
What do you mean? That's what the land was
Because
always ruled by,
let me tell you
empires.
one thing. In South Africa right now, there are white people that live there. If a conqueror should come, I think that conqueror want to do away with the white people as much as they want to do away with the black people. So it's irrelevant whether you're white or black. It means the land needs to be conquered, and that's that. Okay. So if the same analogy applies to Palestine, where Jewish lived there during that time, okay, it's irrelevant whether they are Jews or Muslims. The colonizer wants to do away with them, and that's what the colonizer did. It colonized the whole fucking peninsula, regardless of religion.
Who colonized?
The British, didn't they do that?
Before the British, who colonized it?
The British and those other people, but we are talking about recent
The
history.
British colonization of the Middle East was short.
Short, how short do you think it is?
It was from World War One to World War Two.
And you call that short?
Yes, well, comparing to the Ottomans who colonized it for 400 years, yes.
But when they did they colonize in the same way
As whom?
as the British, as the Muslims? Did they colonize the lands in the same way as?
Uh, in particular to this piece of land, the British colonization was much more peaceful than the Islamic one.
Peaceful. Okay.
They
Lay,
well, they
lay,
didn't
lay.
slaughter their way through it like the Muslims did.
Wait. Have you ever heard of a peaceful colonization before?
No, that's what I told you. In comparison to the Islamic colonization of that land, I
And I
would consider that
asked you,
peaceful.
have you ever heard
It's
of a peaceful colonization before?
Peaceful, I said, with regards to comparison to the Ottomans.
No, I don't think the word
oh
you
my
should use
God.
is peaceful.
So
I
you
don't
see,
think the
Jews.
word
You
you
see,
should
you
be
miss
using
one
is peaceful.
component.
This
I do not think the word you should be
When
using
the
is
World
peaceful.
War II ended,
this
when the World War II
sociopath's
ended,
apathy is too much, Mr.
when
Victory.
the Allies
Please.
liberated the concentration camps, what did they do with the population in those camps?
What concentration camps?
After World War II ended and the Allies liberated concentration camps, what did they do with the population in those concentration camps?
You mean the Jews that were in the concentration camps?
Predominantly, it wasn't just Jews, but it was the predominantly Jews. But what did the Allies do with them?
I don't know.
They put them in a concentration camp in Cyprus because nobody. The Poland said we're not taking you back. The French said we're not taking you back. The
Why
English
do you
said we're
think
not
that
taking
is?
you
Why do
back
you think that is?
because they didn't want the Jewish population.
Why do you
So
think
they
that
all kept.
is?
Why?
So they kept all of them in
Listen,
Cyprus camps.
and I
So
said,
do you
why
want
do
them
you
to stay
think
in
that
Cyprus camps?
even
No,
despite the fact that Jewish are being killed across Europe, why do you think no one wants them back in their lands?
because Europeans have a problem with Jew hate.
No,
It's inheritance.
Europeans didn't have a problem with Jews. You know, during that time, Europeans
So
have
why didn't they take them back? Why didn't they give them back their
because of the
houses?
attitude of Jews.
What attitude? A Jew in a concentration camp. What
Listen,
attitude are
let
you
me tell
talking
you one
about?
thing. You know, even though it's like it seems to be random when it terms of killing and pillaging and stuff, human beings are very selective when it comes to who we kill and who we pillage. Okay, the to governize a nation under one agenda. Let's say we're gonna do away with Jews. You have to prove to the people why that needs to happen. Okay, in the
Yeah, like
same
the
way,
English kings.
what?
Like the English kings, when they borrowed money from the Jews, when time came to pay back, they said, "We're not gonna pay you back. We'll expel you."
Well, that is normal thing people did.
Exactly. So
Hmm.
who's at fault? The Jews or the British kings,
But
English kings?
but you
But
have to.
regardless, you still haven't answered. There was a people. They moved all these people liberated from concentration camps and put them in the concentration camps. They call it internment camps because they had nowhere else to go in Cyprus.
Mhm.
Where were those Jews supposed to go? So you see now the European world is pushing us into a camp, not letting us return back to the countries we came from.
So
So they
so
moved us into a camp. So where are they gonna go? They're gonna stay forever in a camp? I was supposed to be born in a camp just
okay.
because I'm a Jew? No, you know what we usually say in this means? We say, fuck you all, we're liberating our land and we're fighting for it.
Okay.
The
Colonizing,
same thing happened in the
taking,
Arab world. They
killing.
ethnically cleansed 1 million Jews from their lands
You know,
before the establishment of Israel. Where did they all go?
Unfortunately,
They all went to
unfortunately,
Israel.
a sociopath will only ever see the faults of others.
obviously, and
They'll never look at
Yes, a
themselves as
sociopath,
part of the
like working,
problem.
whatever.
They provide themselves the apathy necessary to demonize and villainize other people without ever looking at their own actions. They provide cognitive dissonance when it comes to having to chew on a fact they don't like. And this conversation is going around in circles because of this idea that being a chosen person puts you above others.
It- that is the thing, and the reason why I'm keeping around is not because of entertainment, because I want to learn something from the
Notice I never
uh,
used the word chosen. It was the white trash who did that. I never presented myself as chosen ever. I actually, I actually presented the case of they kept us in internment camps with nowhere
Mm-hmm.
to go. Where we're
Mm-hmm.
supposed to go. Mm-hmm.
Killing you at random, and I'm sure
Yes, yes, yes.
those people in
Anyways,
those
I
camps
got
were
my wife calling me non.
looking for tolerance from other
I got my
people.
wife calling me nonstop. So, host, you're a great guy. This white trash, you can fuck yourself. I'll see you
Yep.
guys later.
Yep.
yeah,
Shalom.
you can fuck yourself too, but it's all
Yeah.
it's like it's like I'm not here to
Shalom.
to shake your hands, you know. No, the reason why I wanted to keep him around is not because of entertainment sake, but it's like I wanted to learn something about the ideology because it's the first time we are getting an exclusive with a Zionist
A
thinking person.
first-hand look.
Yeah, and I
Yep.
think it's one
Yeah.
that
No,
we
I.
have to tap into and try to learn something. And it's like it's very particular to how they think, and it's a very dangerous thinking of what when the Europeans were doing classification of race used to think. So that everything was science because it came from them that these people are red, these people are black, these people are whatever, to be able to use it to justify their actions.
Yes.
You know,
Could I read this for you?
sure, sure.
Um, so Karl Popper in 1945 wrote about the paradox of tolerance as a philosophical concept stating that for a tolerant society to survive, it must be intolerant of intolerance. Does this make sense?
I'm trying to wrap my head around it. There was a lot of
Okay,
keywords.
so the hate from the KKK in America,
Hmm.
the hate from all these racist people who have built up these ideologies based on racism or bigotry or ignorance, um, their ability to provide these actions, words, narratives to the society as a whole in America has created this idea worldwide that America is a racist country.
True.
Okay, America's throughout history, America's inability to properly punish the Confederacy, the KKK, other hate groups, uh, both even like the anti-Jewish movement or anti whatever, anti the Islamophobia craze that's been happening over the last 10, 15, 20 years. Um, all of it is happening because of the American government's inability to stand up to it or
Hmm.
to um, provide a consequence for it.
It's the same thing that is happening in South Africa now. That when the government
Yes.
is reluctant to create consequences for the action of the people, then it's
Yep.
everyone view it as the nation supporting the actions of the people.
Yes. And the vulnerability of open societies, because tolerant societies welcome open debate, extremist ideologies can exploit the openness and to spread hatred, recruit followers, and eventually seize power to suppress all opposing. Does this sound like something that has taken place in America? Probably in South America or South Africa as well.
Yeah, it does. Now I'm getting your point now, but it's like the guy is and this is recorded too, and now I record all the lies, because then it's easier to play back and have something to reference it. So in short terms, I'm gonna make the audio qualities, and I'm gonna actually start posting the segments,
Yeah.
in the lives that we can refer to and speak, and I mean to share lights on those places. Let me see if
So
I don't.
so this tolerance paradox,
Mhm.
uh, the author's solution was that he argued that the intolerant should not be engaged purely on rational grounds. If they refuse to listen to reason, a tolerant society has a right and sometimes a duty to suppress the intolerant speech and movement.
It's a. You saying this is a book or
It
guideline?
is the author is Karl Popper. He wrote this in 1945, and it's in probably came about because of the Jewish concentration camps.
Hmm.
Um, However, it does apply to all other areas of the world where these types of things have been allowed to proliferate, much like Nazi Germany, South Africa, in the Americas before all of that. You know, it was all based on a racial hate, intolerance, religious or otherwise, for other forms of bigotry.
Those are true statements because I think that is the reason why people, do the things that we do, that we put limitations or feel nothing for the others, where the cognitive dissonance is always present. That
Yep.
if a Jewish person is being hurt, oh my God, that's the worst thing can happen. Oh, poor little thing. But then the person was hurt because the person went out to, burn down someone else's land, and the person threw a stone at his head. You know, so it's like I think it's very particular that Jewish people tend to, uh, cry victim, when they get hurt doing things that they shouldn't be doing. It's like, and I think it's about time the world it's more outspoken and do not fear, because what happened, prior to this is Nazi Germany, where people were reluctant to speak out. All of a sudden, a ideology grew in the dark, and the outburst was a European civil war that they classify to be a world war. It's one thing that needs to be checked, and it's like I find the wars that are happening in the Middle East are some kind of a Middle Eastern or a Abrahamic religion kind of civil war, because they are similar in relations, and because of these ideologies that goes against each other, that is the reason why the chaos is happening. But Israel wants to be at the forefront of the dominance, in a way where they see Netanyahu as their hero and their freedom fighter. To them, he is doing God's work, and I think it fits perfectly into the topic of today. Is like, and when I was talking to the guy, that how far is too far, and when does a hero stop being a hero, you know, and when does he become the villain? But it's like to Jews, it's like, nah, he hasn't stopped being a hero. It's still our leader and our
Yeah.
Messiah.
He's an evil villain, a Bond villain.
You know,
They all are because they're all using religion and mentions of history within a religious text as a means to justify it.
one
Like
thing.
they don't seem to be able to comprehend the difference between a religious text and history, documented history. It's not. It's one is theology. You know, might as well be a Lord of the Rings book.
One thing that I think is funny is the reason why Israel is able to operate the way they are operating is because Britain deems it so. And I usually laugh when people say Israel is a very powerful country. I'm like, the people
Mm.
who who they want to be, but as I always say, you can't surpass your father, which is Britain. They are the granddads of colonization. They are the granddads of more treatment, and
Oh yeah.
it's
Yep.
like it's like if they want to topple any regime, any government, they are capable of doing it, in a heartbeat. But I think now, since someone else is doing their bidding for them, that's why they are letting it happen. You know,
Yep.
that's how I see it. So in many
When
regards,
when
okay.
when we were talking with Ari,
Hmm.
I tried to get him to empathize a position that was similar to what he is describing for Jewish people, but for someone else,
Hmm.
for my people. He couldn't do it. He couldn't wrap his mind or Spirit couldn't see the truth in what I was saying. He just, no, doesn't make sense to him. That's that once you can identify that the person does not have any form of empathy, you can basically justify him into two different categories. I'm sure Ari is not a psychopath. So the only other thing that he could be is a sociopath, as they have no ability to comprehend the notion of empathy. They can't put themselves into other people's shoes. They're only concerned about their own. They
Yeah,
see their own as more important than everybody else, and
you,
that there is a defining feature of any sociopath.
you
If
know,
they provide other people apathy for the same situation that they're crying for empathy for, no, they're a sociopath. They're functionally broken.
I want to see a pattern. I want to say something, and it's something because I see this trend to happen in multiple times. Uh, Um, you see people who are subjugated, let's say Africans or Afro Americans, Jamaicans, natives, Red Indians, as some call it.
Yep.
I always say that people who now are doing the oppressing is in many regards are the ones who have prior to what they are doing, being the one who have been oppressed.
Yes.
And where I'm going with is this. Is this like a way to claim one's balls back, one's power back? Or is it a way to ensure that what was done upon me or to me will never ever happen again?
There's this. I like to read a lot, and psychology books are one of my favorites. Stockholm syndrome. It is where a victim joins the side of the oppressor. I think there's a lot to be said about that syndrome when being turned into a victim. They see that the strength and power dynamic turns to the oppressor so they can join them and get more powerful. A lot of the tactics that were used on say the indigenous, but we never really had any global agendas or power initiatives. We only just controlled ourselves and lived with nature as nature demanded. So that was a foreign ideology to us. We probably, if we were able to gain control of the country, we would probably be deporting a lot of people. But, that's neither here nor there. When it comes to the Israelis or the Jewish people who were subjugated during World War II, would they want to subjugate other people? I would think so. I would think Stockholm syndrome probably has a play in the dynamic of that. It's got to be a psychological thing.
Yeah, and now it's like now they are pushing Turkey into the midst of this, and Turkey is next. And I'm like, how can you not finish? It's like now they deem, let's say, Iran to be toppled. So now
Yep.
the next one is Turkey. So then when does it stop? You know?
Oh, it's gonna reach into Africa when they move into Somaliland. It's a strategic starting point for them.
Yeah, well, it's gonna happen, but I'm like I don't know how they're even gonna begin with Africa because it's like it's a heavy colonized nation where the people are colonized to this day. So it's like in order to achieve something, it has to feed directly into the colonization playbook. You
No
know,
one does it better right now.
yeah, of course, but it's like are Africans docile in the same regard as their forefathers used to be? Are they still easily to be lured or lied to as their forefathers used to be? And it's for my one main, I think they can both survive. And it's speaking on the events that just recently happened in Burkina Faso about the Imam. That thing that state law is not a law, but Islamic law is a law. So therefore, he's gonna do what he please. And I think he was arrested, and the people who supported him were put into military camps to have them defend the nation. To see how difficult it is when you are promoting ideologies that are against the trajectory of a nation. And I think it is one that is very, very, very dangerous, especially when we're speaking of heroes. But in one hand, it's heroes to some, and to others, he is a villain. The fact of him being a villain is because the rhetoric in which he preaches goes against state and state law. But for other people, that's correct because of it is Islamic law. So if we try to tackle the questions on the board, because it is only you and I on the panel today, and the first question is, why do schools often teach more about the conquerors than the resistors? Sorry, damn, I ran out of water.
Yeah, well, I know here in North America, I had to learn about Spain's history. I had to learn about England's history. I had to learn about Portugal and the explorers and the geography they created. But we never, we only touched on indigenous history when it came time for the study of certain specific battles, like the Plains of Abraham in Montreal or Quebec City, or whatnot, and we would have to learn the colonizers, generals, and military people, and who was fighting who on the indigenous side, but never ever about indigenous cultures, never ever about indigenous languages. Uh, Nothing of the sort, because that was part of their toolbox of the colonizer to erase all of that and to inject their own history, their own facts, their own reasons,
But
their own
then
languages.
it begs the
Like
question.
we had to learn Dutch, we had to learn French, we had to learn English, and make deals with people in those languages. So that was a disadvantage on our part for the most part. But like, history is written on paper. Ours wasn't. Ours was verbal.
Yeah, but I ask myself the question, why is it that we are still, to this day, we are not teaching our children or our youngins in the right way, that we are leaving education to our oppressors?
Yeah. No, it's the whole idea of oppression is that we minimize the, like, if I was the oppressor, I would want to minimize my opponent's ability to fight my authority, and education's one of those ways.
Of course, that is true, and it's with a great intention that one would want to do it that way. But then the question is, to we that are alive now, why do we still feed into the how do you call it, the mill of or the cycle of slavery and colonization?
Well, why is just what we're told. You know my ability for critical thought might not be the same as others, so that, like, other people might not question what they've been taught, whereas my idea behind it is to question absolutely everything from everyone.
Yeah, and I do that too. It's like I ask always why, for no freaking reason, because and sometimes it throws people off. Like someone coming to me and saying, "Oh, do you want to come to my church?" And I ask them why. Then all of a sudden, it's like the worst thing you could say. Ask them why. Uh, am I being asked if I want to come to church? Oh, you want to come to the mosque? Why? You want to go out with me?
Yeah.
Why?
Why?
Why, and everything, And it's like
Yep.
people are usually thrown off when you ask them why but I
Maybe my choice in education, because I took fish and wildlife biology. I think that, the study of animal behavior, the study of it, it developed a need for me to question why.
Mhm.
Why is this bear doing this? Why is this animal built why is this beaver building a dam here when he knows it's going to flood a whole area? Why are these fish traveling only during certain times of the year? Uh, why is a mountain lion that we collared 2 years ago still here? Like questions like that. They make you think. They make you look at other forms of evidence to find an answer. I always preferred questions to answers because answers, much like Ari would give you, could be very pre-programmed. Those types of people who can't comprehend things, just regurgitate what they're told or what they read in a religious text. They don't. It's religion is not a good culture for fact finding. It's kind of devoid of it.
Yeah, or lack of, or with intent in
Yeah.
which you. But I, for one, think that the reason in which children are taught, or we are taught in school about the conquerors rather than our resistors, is because we need to be in sync that we are weak and that no matter what you do, you're gonna be conquered. So don't even think of it because the world is full of conquerors everywhere you go, and they will. If we did conquer you once, we will conquer you again. So don't even attempt to rise. But if we were taught about liberators, strong ones, people who are unapologetic and so on, then I think it will arouse the nation or the people where you will have more resistant movement and or more how do we call it freedom fighters or heroes, and that's what the colonizers do not want. That is the reason why we learn more about their heroes and less of ours.
Yeah. No, I totally agree. They would prefer that they had killed Malcolm X and Martin Luther King long before they did, because that would have benefited them. They didn't want people thinking for themselves. They didn't want people, moving towards better society where more equal rights for more equal people. It's just part of the colonizers' toolbook to keep everybody down while they basically pillage. You know,
Yeah, but
you
that
you look at the Trump administration right now, and they're just pillaging, and the American people are paying for it. But their education system has left them in a position where they don't even know it.
that is true. But yes, America is a whole different ballgame when it comes to these things because they are
But that's how they were educated.
educated with
It-
in that way with intent, to
Yep, it's definitely with intent. Absolutely. How does it benefit a society to keep them stupid?
it does, or else it wouldn't be done. But then, moving on to the second question, since the live is nearing its
Yeah, there's people in history that I wish I would have read more about, like Che.
Mhm.
Knew he was a freedom fighter, but he also had like a very other kind of a questionable history with other things like revolutions and stuff like that. But he was trying to do what was best for his people. I, the Americas made him look like a villain. But again, I don't really know much about the guy because other people think he's a revolutionary person. Are you familiar with him?
No, I'm not familiar with Che.
I think it was Venezuela, maybe Colombia, South America somewhere. It was back in the 70s. He was a revolutionary leader. They ended up killing him, but I know America made him sound like a socialist bad guy,
Oh, okay.
because you know how they hate socialism,
Yeah, that's why some of them are.
even though they don't really understand what it means. Again, their education system's lacking.
Yeah. So I, for one, think that the reason why some anti-colonial leaders are celebrated, like Nelson Mandela, Malcolm X, and all these things, is because they weren't unapologetic enough. You know, no, despite their well-spokenness, how pivotal they were in the history, the reason why they are no like they are celebrated, not the other ones, is because despite the fact that they are well spoken or they are out there and woke, as people put in modern terms, it's rather weak than strong. So like their words actually carry no weight. You know, if like you have a black revolutionist and he's speaking on things like unity, then it's like where is the
Like John Brown. Have you heard of John Brown?
no, I don't think I've heard of John Brown. Maybe I could.
So back in the American Civil War days, he was a religious white preacher-like person who fought against the Confederate soldiers and other racists, using religious text as justification for doing it.
Mhm.
And they ended up killing him too. They made a movie about it just recently with Ethan Hawke.
No, I haven't watched that one. So for me, that's why I think they celebrate those ones, like Nelson Mandela, for example. If Nelson Mandela actually went forward and say, "I'm gonna kick out the Europeans from the country," I don't think he would have been celebrated the way he's been celebrated. But the narrative is that he always like, "Oh, we can work together with them," so they can tell you. So if a South African leader is supposed to come, for instance, let's kick them out. They're gonna say, "Look at Nelson Mandela. Learn from Nelson Mandela. He said we could live together." You see, so I see that's the reason why people like Nelson Mandela would have been celebrated rather than condemned, because his words can be usually used against other black people.
Yeah, he was a unifier.
Yes, and it's the same way people can say turn the other cheek or be like Jesus when it is necessary.
Yep. Yeah, no, I agree. Is every freedom fighter a hero?
Hmm.
See, because of the way history gets documented, it's hard to tell.
Hmm.
I'm sure, like, what was the Prince James?
King James.
King James? I think he was a prince. No, who was the one that the leper that died in he was a king, he was a leper, he died in Jerusalem.
I don't know.
He was a British king, one of the Templars. Anyways, was they that side demonized Salahuddin, and Salahuddin was a praised leader on the side of the Ottomans. So I don't know. It's who's fighting for whose rights. They're all fighting for their own rights, right? Their own lives, their own lands, their own. It becomes very convoluted at that point in time.
Yeah. Is every freedom fighter a hero? No. Some freedom fighters are no heroes because in many cases their agenda is hidden under the concept of freedom fighting. The same way that people will claim Donald Trump to be a freedom fighter, that he is fighting for American people, but now look at what Trump is doing. So, despite the fact that they might look like freedom fighters or people who are heroes, we have to be quick to see these people and to identify these people as being corrupt in their actions and agenda, and then we can deal with them accordingly. Because uh, when we see them to be wrong and that their actions in what they are taking harms the nation, like the president of South Africa, for example, that is reluctant to speak against the sacking of other Africans. And mind you, these countries that you are sacking, right? The reason that you, black South African, were able to, you know, gain peace and freedom is because of those people. When South Africa was under apartheid, where black South Africans couldn't travel, Ghana gave them passports so that you can travel at least under a Ghanaian name or a Ghanaian citizenship. So you could participate in things in the world, because you weren't allowed to have yours. But fast forward today, when South Africans have things in place, now they are here showing their true colors, you know. And in many cases, I think many nations that got colonized, we got colonized because of our own doing. We didn't get colonized because we were weak. We were colonized because those who led us or our leaders actually allowed it to happen. They were in bed with the enemy, like what is happening in South Africa now, right? Where the leaders are not here speaking against, they support. The police are not arresting you. You can be beaten in front of the police and they will do nothing. You know. So yes, these leaders are here supporting this turmoil. Okay.
Well, yeah, much like the Trump administration right now, you have a whole bunch of people on the same side, and the side is very seemingly evil, um, but they're all fighting for it, and they're all defending it, and they're all just partaking in it. It's yeah, no, it's definitely a means to an end for them.
Mm,
A lot of people are being oppressed right now. Some of them don't even know it.
that is very true, and it's like it's about time we learn to identify oppression at the early stage, because I think usually when we do realize that oppression, usually it is far too gone, it's almost too late. So tackling the last question, and I think I'll be done for today, and I'm actually putting it in the works to add a second day in the week where we tackle questions,
Yeah,
which
yeah.
yeah, which is gonna be less of this type but more confrontational. Is one thing that I'm working on, and which days is going to be where it's more of like a one v one, like we had with Airy, where we question him and we can have that fiery talk. Also educational in many
Yep.
ways, where we actually focus on deconstructing minds like Aries, one Jew at a time,
Oh, that's yeah. That's a little more difficult than you'd think, but yeah,
Yeah.
the cognitive dissonance when it gets that thick in the air, I have to just turn my mic off and shut up and maybe walk around a bit because it's for me it's infuriating. I'm on the side of being intolerant towards intolerance. I think that's the best way to approach it. I don't think it needs to be coddled. I don't think it needs to be defended. They're defending the indefensible, and we all need to stand up against it. All of us.
True, true, true.
But yeah,
uh
does history reward success more than morality? I would I would ask a question
mhm.
and discuss the answer because I can't remember. Maybe you can. The last time a war was fought for moral reasons,
mm.
World War II.
I think it's somewhat moral reasons it was fought for, but we all know it was fought to maintain dominance and power. But let's say we are taking the Europeans' word for it that they are fighting
Yep.
to save the world from Nazi Germany. Then yeah, that
Yep.
was the only last time a war was fought for moral reasons.
Everything else since then has been for success, right?
Yeah,
Vietnam,
pretty much. Yeah.
Korea,
hmm
yeah, Afghanistan.
Afghanistan.
You can't really call that moral.
Iraq.
we don't even know if like, do we know that Osama bin Laden took out the towers? And what did we do to deserve such a response?
We
I
all
have
we
to
all
look farther back and see, but I
we all
can't imagine
know
we were doing great things in Afghanistan to lead to that.
we all know the attack on the Twin Tower is one that is false. That no
Right.
building. My father has been a bricklayer, and I have witnessed countless of natural disasters. I've never seen a building break that so rapidly that everything will collapse in that same way. That has never happened in the history of bricklaying because there's always something left standing. No building crumbles in that same way, especially with uh, pillars and beam and structure, It never
Yep.
happens.
Yep.
Only
So
if
there's
it's a
there's a hidden agenda in there somewhere that none of us are aware of. It was all very suspicious and suspect, but it got us into a war in Iraq. Even though Iraq didn't attack us.
yeah,
you know,
the
it's
agenda was
so
what it
strange.
is.
And now the people who actually did attack us are our friends.
Yeah,
Strange. It's all very strange, and I don't have enough factual information to go one way or the other with it. I'm going to have to play victim here as to being subject to the spin of narratives.
mm, yeah. It
It
hurts
would be
one's mind.
interesting.
It hurts one's mind, when you speak to people about these things, especially people who are not are ingenuine, are not honest about the things. And I think we've made a good impression on Airy, and with time, I think his perspective will change because this is the first time. In many cases, this is the first time people are asked a question in a specific way where they are chosen to prove something. And when you remember when he was talking, like, I know where you're going with this, and it speaks volume to how he understand the question that is been asked of him. And I think it's with good intent that he understand where we are
He's going to
going with
take a
this.
narrative and spin it into a way that best suits him.
Yeah, but
It's a crazy way to go through life to have to be like that. I
yeah,
can't imagine the hurt it takes on one's spirit. But
yeah. I it's been a shorter life this time, but my I've been on some kind of cases today, and I was like, no, let me get up and do it and be done with it. But my head hurts, and I'll rest a bit to galvanize my energy, and I will try to come back again next week with more fiery topics and with more energy. So to everyone who have liked, shared, and followed, thank you. I know to Scott we do talk normally, so our conversation will continue in private. Uh, those of you who are just joining and just discovering our live, thank you. And do shoot me topics you do want us to talk about, and we will actually talk about it. We require you to be present while we talk about the topics that you like or what we talk about it, but has to be under the same umbrella of colonization, ideology, or deconstruction. So that's the only requirements. But yeah, I think um, I've said enough.
you take care. Have yourself a really good